Hello, everybody. We have a little bit of a different look for you this week. We ran into some health issues in my household, and we kind of needed to, you know, tap the brakes on me taking time out of my day to see this behemoth of a film that, Martin Scorsese has made for us. But fortunately, one amongst us is, childless and, a little bit more flexible. So Matt was able to go to the theater and check it out, and he'll be giving you his feelings on the film, his analysis, and I'll have a little bit more to say when it's all over. See you on the other side.
Welcome to Theater and Stream, a film podcast. I am Matt, and this is a Minisode. Things are looking a little bit different this week because Chuck had a bit of a last-minute emergency. Sometimes life just happens and you got to take a week off, so it's just me this week. But I didn't really want to leave the channel hanging, and not just because we got new Scorsese, but because this week marks 2 years of doing this podcast. Way back in October of 2021, we were still called From the Mezzanine. We reviewed Denis Villeneuve's Dune for our first episode. And since then, it's been 104 weeks. And I don't think we've ever really completely missed a weekly episode. Sometimes they're canned, pre-recorded shows. Sometimes they'll be shortened mini-sodes, kind of like the one I'm doing now. But we really pride ourselves on consistency. For a show that's just kind of an excuse for two friends to get together and talk movies, we're really lucky to crack 100 views a week. And I really think that's all you can ask for. But that's enough for the schmaltz. I'm here to talk about one thing, and that's Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon.
Our hero has arrived.
You made a good choice coming back here. Osage are the finest, wealthiest, and most beautiful people on God's earth. They outsmarted everybody.
They have the say. Who gets the oil?
Son, I got a question. You like women?
That's my weakness.
Going into this film, I really had one question. Does Marty still got it? This is a man who is an octogenarian. And I want you to think about that for a second. Can you imagine if your 80-year-old grandpa commanded $150 million movie budgets, or he had actors tripping over themselves to be in his movies, or he released films that without fail would make critics absolutely cream their pants every single time? This is a 80-year-old man that not only still has the wherewithal to not be in a nursing home drooling all over himself while doing puzzles, but he still has his finger on the pulse of movie making. And with all that power, he's decided to adapt David Grann's 2017 nonfiction book, Killers of the Flower Moon. It's a book about the forceful taking of land from the Osage people in Oklahoma, whether it be by wedlock, deceit, or murder. So you have to wonder, with this true story, what sort of spin was Scorsese going to put on it? Or was he even going to put a spin on it? Or is it just going to basically be a recitation of the facts? Well, I can tell you what they want you to believe this movie is, because the other night, while watching an NFL game, I saw a TV spot for the film. And it was soundtracked by a Rick Ross song, and there were images of people being shot, bank doors getting blown off the hinges, houses exploding, cars crashing. So here's what they want you to believe. That this is one of Scorsese's famous mob movies, a la Goodfellas, Casino, The Irishman, but it's basically just been superimposed over to Oklahoma. And I'm here to kind of tell you that's not at all what this is. Killers of the Flower Moon is a meditative film, choosing instead to focus on the Osage people, their customs, their rituals. It's also a love story between Ernest and Molly Burkhart. And it's sort of the slow, procedural, systematic taking of land from the Osage by outsiders. Does the film have people getting shot, blown up, and stabbed? Yes, it does, but it really doesn't amount to much in a 3.5 hour long movie. And, let's tug on that a little bit. This movie is egregiously long. You're really, really going to be feeling it around the time the film turns from a police procedural into a courtroom drama. And I really don't care how much I like you as a director, how good the movies are that you make. I have rarely come across a film that justifies a 210-minute running time. Now, for a majority of that running time, we're focused on Leonardo DiCaprio's Ernest Burkhart and Lily Gladstone's Molly Burkhart. And this is probably the biggest creative leap and the biggest difference from the book that Scorsese has made. The book, it places Jesse Plemons's Tom White at the center of the story because he's sort of the closest thing that the real life story has to like a hero because he's the guy who solved the case. And in the film, it's interesting because Plemons is lucky to have 15 minutes of screen time, if that. And I'm not really entirely sure that making the bad guy of this story as your film's protagonist was the best choice, especially someone like Tom Burkhart, who is a dullard, he's a simpleton, he is a man who is barely able to think for himself. But, it's understandable when you have DiCaprio, out there hand-picking his roles and doing apparently uncredited rewrites on the script for the film. It's like, what can you do? For their parts, both DiCaprio and Gladstone they're fantastic. Both great in the roles. But yeah, what else is there to say for now? Overall, I really did like the film. It's a really good distillation of the events and of the book itself. And it's especially worth watching if you're not really inclined to spend probably double the amount of hours reading a 350-page book. But I really think this has more in common with Silence than any of Scorsese's mob movies. It's slow, it's quiet, there are a lot of funeral scenes, there are a lot of scenes of rituals and dreams, and I guess to wrap it up for now, I don't know, I'll say I liked it, and just to say one more thing that I liked and one more thing that I disliked here. First, this film has one of the most creative ways I've ever seen a movie do that sort of end of the film, here's where all the characters ended up type thing, when you have the white text over black usually. This film does it in a very unique way. It is very fourth wall breaking. It's probably the most unique way I've ever seen something like that done. Loved it. Secondly, the thing that I disliked. Brendan Fraser was awful in this movie. This dude is doing Rick O'Connell the Mummy acting while everybody else around him comparatively is literally doing Shakespeare. And can we please stop pretending that Fraser is a good actor just because he seems like a nice guy? It's really funny how hyped up he was for being in this film. And he's lucky to have like 5 minutes of screen time, and it's all in the last like half hour of the movie. And somewhere in there's an interesting story about his scenes being edited out of this film because the ones that are in the movie are bad enough. But anyway, that's Killers of the Flower Moon for now. I'm going to say that this minisode is going to act as sort of a primer to Chuck and I's eventual full-length review of the film. Whether that takes place a week from now or a month from now, I'm not really quite sure, but we'll get to it. But otherwise, we're going to be back next Monday. I'm fairly certain with a review of Damien Rugna's When Evil Lurks, which I've heard very good things about. Go watch Terrified if you haven't already. That's going to be dropping on Shudder on the 27th. But that's all for me for now. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt, for taking the time to get all that down. I'm sure I'll be able to check this film out once it's available on streaming on Apple TV+. In the meantime, I was able to watch The Continental, finish The House of Usher, and a number of other, like little animated things like Captain Underpants, which you could probably hear in the background right now. I had no idea they had made a movie out of it, let alone a TV show, but it's pretty faithful. I'll give them that. But we're going to regroup, and we'll see you all next week when we review Where Evil Lurks. Take care.